We've chosen the topic to discuss with you the Q&A at the end of the session, creating the real time and right time, right place for what millennials demand. We really think there's a major shift, and that's what we want to discuss today in the way traditional retailers or new players, let's say, should be heading forward in designing customer journeys. So just we'll just do a quick landing on why consumers have a disrupting behavior. We all know this to a large extent, so I'll go fast on this. Come back on how is the experience gap today between millennials and, let's say, shoppers and retailers, and what are the opportunities for those who understand it well. And we'll have Sarah take over and really illustrate that with an amazing plan by Vitamin Shop. First, the starting point is we all know mobile is taking over. At Valtech, when we design shopper journey with our clients, we're impressed by the speed of change. Okay, twice the number of minutes of mobile usage in the US over the last 2 years. We all know this, but it's the magnitude of change that we should be aware of course, and understand how that requires a total change in the way we address and engage with prospects and customers. And if you look on the right side, mobile entertainment is almost half today of the online entertainment. So it's really, let's say we're almost there. It's almost a mobile-centric world, and we know it's gonna happen in the next quarters, and we have to be ready for that. Of course, it's not only a question of going online traditionally with a mobile, but it's also spending that time differently and acting and interacting and interfacing differently with one's community and brands and retailers. We all know that messaging and social is 30% of time spent, is number one time spent, but look at the growth, still amazing. I looked at those numbers and I thought, wow, 394% over 1 year is going to take over. Basically, everything's going to have to come perhaps through those social and messaging apps today in the way retailers will engage. We know, in fact, that messaging apps now have taken over. That was in 2015 when messaging app took over social media globally, okay, with WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Viber, WeChat becoming really the interface of choice and let's say the usage of choice for each of us. The 3 billion mark really was passed globally for those apps in 2015 and a bit perhaps early 2016. Okay, so this cannot be let's say something that doesn't question dramatically the customer journeys that we built and you built. We chose 3 pieces of data here. 33% of people clearly said, "I'm not loyal to a retailer, really. I'm engaging with those who provide to me the right information at the right time." Okay, so let's say a very established brand is not a protection anymore. It's really what you say with that brand, and the brand value, of course, conveys a lot of trust, but it's not the issue anymore. It's the relevance and the immediacy of that relevance as users engage, particularly on mobile, of course. 63%, that's huge. Most, we're getting close to everybody now wants a personalized experience from the start, okay? They're not looking for generic content. That's a loss of time, especially on a mobile where, the efficiency of clicking on a mobile is not as great as on a desktop. So really 63% are looking for immediate personalized experience based on, at least on their purchase history. And finally, 64%, and that's probably the most amazing piece of data, are looking for business to have a channel through messaging applications. So it doesn't say they want a bot inside the message, their existing community discussions, but they want to engage immediately in that style of a messaging application and within the messaging applications. I believe the surveys don't show that many retailers are yet established on messaging application. We could do a small survey in this room, in fact. So given those changes, where are we in terms of experience gap? And starting with the experience gap for, of course, the dominant channel, which is the store channel today, both in terms of, especially in terms of transaction, of course. When we look at it, we're always very impressed when we look at store to see that this is March 2017 data, by the way. And as you see, this is the reasons for shoppers to visit store less, okay? And if you look on the right side, they are not saying price in a store is a major reason now to visit a store less, or to visit retailer store less. In fact, it's the number 7 reasons for visiting store less. Actually, it's the actual experience. So experience, inspiration, the fact that your information in real time on new products, which is disappointing when they go to a store. So those who visit store less, of course, give good reasons for e-commerce, traditional reasons, I would say. Cheaper, convenient, service is good, but also e-commerce is a promise for information, real-time and updated information on new product, and up to 29% or 28%. It's inspiring. It's a new experience. Okay, so the gap is still there, I would say, and not always where you would expect it for a store. Store really have to come back and provide a very strong experience, inspiring experience to give reasons to go. Now, in this shift of behavior, of course, there's always a gap for retailers who would not have redefined the experience and the value proposition of a store, but there's great opportunities because as we expand the usage of mobile as individuals, we offer a number of times and information during those moments 150 times a day. 150 times a day, we are engaging, and that's an opportunity for retailers to really respond to what we are looking for. In fact, we used the Google survey on 150 moments that now goes back 1 or 2 years ago, perhaps 2 years ago. And it's interesting to see that the way people interact is in those moments is also pointing the direction. Okay, voice search, very interesting. 43%. When people actually search about something they want to know about, that's how Google classifies its search. If they want to know about, 43% today use voice search. It's quicker. Now, what is the implication? How are you effective in terms of keywords, in contents, to provide an effective answer to a voice search versus written keywords in a search engine? 56% of online research are done on mobile. Okay, so mobile is the channel of engagement for retailer, up to 56% if they have definite reasons to buy something. 50% if they want to do something is video on mobile devices as well. And finally, very interesting, if shoppers want to go to a specific destination using the nearby functionality on search engines, very impressively, they will convert that into visiting a store within a day. So that's of course an impressive conversion rate for retailers who really provide highly relevant information on search on mobile, and especially using nearby functionalities on maps. So. At Valtech, we like to look at the channels which we think are really in sync with mobile, immediate relevance, and real-time, let's say, opportunity and personalized. Of course, this is a selection. We could have listed much more channels. We like the Amazon Echo, of course, or the Google Home, if you have a preference for Google Home. But we like this idea that you use voice search, you establish a shopping list, for example, and immediately you have it available on your mobile, and in another moment you can convert it. We really believe that it illustrates a multi-channel, frictionless, effective way to do your grocery shopping. So we think that's really gonna go up very significantly in the behaviors, because it's really in line with what we expect as users and shoppers. We like GBoard. So GBoard is an app by Google. I don't know how many people know it here, where you can install it and have it actually available as you type message in iMessage. Okay, it's not yet fully integrated, I would say, but we see the direction and it's very promising. The idea is you're typing, you're texting someone, and as you're texting, you have information which is proposed to you. You want to go, you propose to go to a restaurant tonight, and immediately GBoard in the same window messaging is showing restaurants nearby that you can choose and immediately copy paste in your messaging application. Sweet Green, you all know it. You are, I guess, New Yorkers. We love this idea of all the engagement being done on the phone, customizing your salad, pre-ordering, paying, and really changing the point of sale and the point of store and delivery into a very simple pick up and go type of service. And finally, shoppable videos. We like DubDub. It's a small startup providing the ability for users to post links inside the video so that immediately you have access to the product or service that's being shown in the application. Okay. Now, of course, more than this introduction, Sarah is going to show in real life retail what Vitamin Shop is doing to align with this real time and immediately relevant requirements.
Ooh, these things are always scary. Hey, I'm Sarah Henry. Thanks, Jean-Christophe. That's a great set of data points. I think, we know consumer behavior is changing. We know it's changing all the time. And we know that there's several other things that are shifting and that we're having to adapt to as brands, as advertisers, as retailers, that are more than just consumers. So we're just going to get into the tactical, practical business application of a few different use cases the Vitamin Shop has had over the past few months, past few seconds, of things that have worked for us along the consumer journey, how we're adapting with the change, and how we've really put mobile at the forefront of that. So just to kind of go into today's ecosystem, I think all of us are kind of struggling with this a little bit. It's what Jean-Christophe said around the shift in consumer behavior. So there's this idea of instant gratification, there's proliferation of devices, there's really any number of things that are changing the way that millennials and Gen Zers are shopping, and there's really a need for us to adapt to that. For the Vitamin Shop, it's an interesting story. We've been around for 40 years. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, so a lot of change. I was going to make a joke that we hadn't changed in 40 years, but I thought that it would fall flat. So even in the past too, there's been just a really seismic shift. A really good example of this is, there's the behavior stuff on the consumer side, but there's also this idea of a dynamic marketplace. So if you look at the Vitamin Shop back in 2010, 2012, you had these waves in the media, and it's almost like the Dr. Oz Oprah effect, where one of those guys would mention the new Atkins diet, and everybody's flocking to a store to buy what resonates with that. And so there were only limited places that you could really get the sort of vitamins, mineral supplements side of the house, and also the sports nutrition, so your protein powders, your protein bars, that kind of thing. And today, in addition to this shift in consumer behavior, you've also got just a sheer number of places you can get this stuff. And so it really does beg the question, what can you do to really make yourself stand out that's above and beyond just the 4 Ps, price, product, whatever it is. In the Vitamin Shop world, there's also really this idea of a need for education. And this is not exclusive to us, but in our space, there's a lot of uncertainty in supplementation. There's a lot of uncertainty in ingredients, attributes, things like that. People don't really know what the difference between whey protein isolate is and a pure protein blend. Like, should I be using that for CrossFit? Is it going to help me run? Like, what's it going to do? And so part of our role in shifting with this is really understanding what those key moments are. And it's not at the lower part of the funnel when somebody's trying to get a coupon to order. It's really at the start of it and learning how to measure it and learning what it does and how we can really stitch together an experience with mobile at the forefront to really get consumers the information they need to really have a more holistic balance to their health and wellness journey. So it's really about, I'm going to go unscripted, guys. It's really about this idea of personalized experiences, its immediacy and relevancy, its right time, right place. And so we're just going to touch on 4 different pieces of the Vitamin Shop consumer journey that have been successes for us. They haven't been without their challenges, but they're ways that we've shifted. What I don't have for you is a perfect formula for how we're doing this, at large scale, but we're learning along with the rest of all of us in this room and out there. This is just a few of the different digital pieces that we've integrated into our experience over the years. I won't spend a lot of time on this slide, but we're going to hit on 4 of these. Before I get into the first one, I just want to talk about the fact and call out the fact that we talk about real time, real place, and right time, right place, and what's the right moment, but it's really hard to understand and really know what the right moment is. And so for health and wellness, it's interesting because it's easy to glamorize it and to think that health and wellness is all about Kate Hudson wearing an awesome tank top, or romanticizing that, we can reach somebody while they're in their journey and, at their CrossFit box. And that's all true. But there's this other sort of nitty-gritty sort of unpacking of what our shoppers are doing. And it's a real visceral sort of, other side of health and wellness. And it starts with an example of this headline, which is, I hoped it would be bigger, but it's, why am I so gassy? And so this is something where probably you're not gonna see this on somebody's Facebook feed as looking for a recommendation. That's not the place for this. But the reality is, this is what our shoppers are looking for. They're looking for information on how to lower their cholesterol. They're looking for information on how not to be gassy. And that's a real critical trigger or exploration moment, especially if you're trying to find that information before you go into your next board meeting, or if you're trying to go on your next 5-mile run. I'm not sure which is worse in this situation. But basically, it's really all about connecting our consumers with the right content so that when they do those searches, search is a huge component for the Vitamin Shop, they're really getting the content and education they need, and it's not necessarily about just pulling the trigger on a product. They don't know they need an enzyme yet. They don't know they need a probiotic. It's really about connecting them with that content. I'll add to, I know Jean-Christophe mentioned earlier this idea of screen-free and really being there in the moment there. Vitamin Shop recently integrated with Google Home's voice ordering service. And so we're integrated through a company called Google Express, or a product called Google Express. And the idea is you order as a consumer through your Google Home. So if you're standing in front of your kitchen and you know that you need to refill multivitamins, you can say, okay, Google, I need to refill my multivitamins. And Google will say back to you, hey, I can refill these for you from the Vitamin Shop. Would you like to purchase? So it's a real great way for us to really provide that replenishment right at the time that somebody knows that they need to refill and they're not necessarily just walking into a store. The second and third of these kind of go together. So assuming we've really done a good job of getting that content and education together in the pre-shopping stage, one of the ways that we've also sort of connected this to the overall consumer journey is this idea of shifting our mobile strategy to drive to store. And so we've spent a lot of time measuring just the impact of online and offline sales. I would say 2 years ago, we as an organization looked at digital ad spend, and we thought that it only affected e-commerce spend. So we know today for every online transaction we drive, there's an additional X number that happen offline too. So huge strategy shift for us to drive to the store through mobile. We rely on the store for a couple of different things, which is really above all this idea of connecting content and connecting the health enthusiast experience with completing a purchase. So really the role of the store is to provide that experience above and beyond what somebody could get online. So it's this idea of building relationship, it's additional solutions, et cetera. So one of the ways we've done this is we arm our health enthusiasts with what we call a VBook. A VBook allows them to access their customer data, it allows them to access loyalty points, and it also opens up a whole world of product knowledge. The fourth one I want to talk about is really interesting, and it's this idea of auto delivery. So there's this common misconception out there that auto delivery is purely an e-commerce product. And this headline that we get, this "you can't have my customers," we get this from two different types of internal stakeholders in the organization. The first place that we get it is from our store ops team, because they think that it's going to take away traffic from the stores. In other words, if we know that 2/3 of shoppers are refilling an item they already buy, auto delivery should be a way to really digitize and make the experience better and more automated and more personalized for the shopper. But our store ops team thinks that traffic will be an issue. The other people who think that it's going to be an issue and who we get this statement from is our health enthusiasts. And it's literally because they think that they're getting a pay cut. Their financial model is really such that they're incented on store sales. They don't get credit for something that happens online. They don't get something that happens through buy online, pick up in store. Same for auto delivery. And so one of the ways that we've really tried to digitize the experience and bring this idea of auto delivery to an omni-channel sort of customer-centric way is through arming the health enthusiasts with a way to activate customers to get auto delivery in the store. So we've rolled out a test in our stores where basically the health enthusiast gets incented, their whole financial model is changed, because we are not only incenting them for store sales, but we're also incenting them for e-commerce, we're incenting them for auto delivery, and for BOPs. And so these are just 4 ways that we've been able to integrate the customer experience. I'm going to hand it back over to Jean-Christophe, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Let's just open the Q&A. We just want to make one last point about those new behaviors. We know the real-time integration between engaging with a brand and a retailer on a content, on a solution, before engaging on a product must also be driving extremely rapidly to what we call frictionless ordering in the moment. And we like the symbol of that, that the famous Amazon one-click feature, technical feature, is actually going public this year. So not the trademark of one-click, you cannot reuse it, but the technical feature, as most of you know, the one-click is going away. So that's probably something that's pretty amazing on mobile as you investigate a new customer journey with a strong and simple, let's say, conversion after engaging on content and product content. So time for Q&A.
Yeah, so it has. We're seeing not only a really large level of incrementality from shoppers that are signed up for auto delivery through the health enthusiast involvement, but we're also seeing, and what I didn't mention was that we're seeing kind of the opposite effect of what you would see in terms of store traffic. So in other words, we've got 3/4 of shoppers that are coming back to refill something on a regular basis. You would think that would take traffic away if they were signed up on auto delivery, but what we're actually using the stores for is that it's not necessarily that trip driver auto delivery function. What we're seeing shoppers come back for is really the personalization and the experience that they have with the health enthusiast. So it really is all about just creating that experience and kind of service model. And they're coming back to the health enthusiast because they've established a relationship with them, and that health enthusiast is sort of bringing them up to speed on new and innovative things. What's really interesting is we're seeing that if you pair that with this idea of service within the store, so a really good example is our concept stores have kombucha bars in them. You can go and fill up a growler of kombucha the same way you'd fill up a growler of beer. So pairing that sort of innovation, that service model of the sessions that we have around DIY face scrubs, and this idea of the relationship of the health enthusiast is really, really sticky in terms of customer loyalty. Yeah, absolutely. So the analytical model is there. We've had the auto delivery product for about a year now, so future optimizations to come, and Valtech has really been instrumental in helping us with that, and analytics are a piece of that. I would say we've done a lot of work over the past couple of years with segmentation as well, so things like product affinity, brand affinity, et cetera, et cetera. And so as we learn more about our subscribers over time, the hope and the dream and what we've already started on is to really find those intersection points. I would say there's kind of 2 tracks to that, which are how we really tailor our marketing to personalize that idea of cross-selling, upselling, getting subscribers to sign up for multiple subscriptions over time based on that purchase behavior. And then the other piece is our health enthusiasts are armed and they're incented even beyond the base financial model to get a number of subscriptions each month. And so it might be the same customer who's coming in, it might even be a subscriber, but they're cross-selling, upselling.
Right.